Hey up, welcome back to part number 3 of my Minibase SU-33 build. This guy. This week we're talking about intakes. Full disclosure, as I mentioned when I first started filming this, the parts go up as and when, there's no real schedule. To be honest, halfway through the intakes I had to take a break, put it aside for about a week or two, work on something else and then come back to it. It was just really sapping my mojo. It's just really an over-engineered kit for me. Personally, it's not an enjoyable experience thus far, although I think a lot of detail I've kind of got out the way, so maybe it's going to be a little bit more plain sailing from here on in. Yeah, it's just 62 parts on nose gear alone. It's just, for me, I mean, some people love that stuff, like building ships and stuff. For me, I'd see progress and move along with my builds. So yeah, it was really kind of sapping the mojo halfway through the intakes. So let's just put it aside, build something else, and then come back to it. So that's kind of the plan. So these parts are going to be a little bit more staggered out. It's probably not going to be weekly. Like I said, to get through this thing, I just really need to kind of focus on other projects and build things to see some progress in other builds, and then come back and chip away at this one a little bit here and there, a day or two a week, just to kind of get going on this. It's just, for me, it's just not enjoyable at all. Once it gets put together, we get to painting, weathering, I'm sure it'll be a lot nicer then. But yeah, it's just way, like I said, way too engineered, way too many tiny little pieces. Just not my thing, to be honest with you. So yeah, the plan for it. So like I say, got the intakes done, painted. So let's go ahead, let's get this going, and I'll kind of show you where I'm up to. Okay guys, so instructions right here. So we obviously did 5 last time around nose gear. So we're going to start on 6, which is the air intake and engine compartment. First is left. Looking at instructions here, it looks pretty straightforward. Nice to see some larger parts compared to those tiny little parts put under the gear. So looking at some bigger plastic, which is nice. Some fan blades. And then 7 is going to be the right side. So we got left, right. Then number 8, we'll continue through to 8, which is the mainland gear down position lock. So basically some parts that go on the side here of the intake by the look of it. Then we did 9 and 10 already, so we skip through those pages. We also did 11 and 12. We did 11. So then we'll come through, and next up will be 12, which will be attaching central pylons. Again, nothing too crazy looking there, just a couple of pylons down the center. And we'll finish up today with section 13, the first section where we actually add the completed intakes onto the bottom lower fuselage section. Then we work on the stabilizers, but we'll go up far as 13 today. I think that's a pretty good amount of work. So what I do is I'll get through and get it started and start cutting some of these pieces up, clean them up, ready to go. Also should note too, as I had a delivery last night, I got some paint delivered. So anybody following along, SU-33 colors, I'm using Hitaka lacquer paint, which I really love. MRP is great too, but this isn't. MRP is pre-thinned, where this you thin yourself, so you get your own kind of consistency. Yeah, it just goes down really nicely. So the 3 colors, which are the SU-33 colors, are so the dark blue is going to be C283, dark gray blue. The light blue is going to be C284, which is blue. And the grey, which is the underneath, and it's also the other third colour, the camo, is basically all over colour, is C285 faded blue grey. So you basically 283, 284 and 285 are the 3 colours I'm going with. Obviously we're a long way away from getting paint down. Also orders a camo mask on eBay, which will probably take like a month from China. So just want to give you a heads up the colours I will be using. Like I said, it just arrived yesterday. But yeah, a little ways away till we can start painting some stuff. But yeah, back to this one. So let me start cutting these pieces out and we'll get going. Okay, quick little update. So I started cutting a piece off D15, so this is incorrect. So the left should be D14 on section 6. So I'm just going to skip that page and we'll do the left second, we'll do the right first. So this right part is D15. This part right here is not labeled. This guy, this should be E27. Kind of working through this. They're the main problems thus far. The other thing is, it's really hard. So we talked in part 2 about D, how D's two, I thought it was a matched pair, but they're different numbers. So you have 2 different sprues D. Apparently it's a third 2. So I looked everywhere for the intakes and thought I'd lost them. And they have this little bag here is upside down, turn around, and here's where the 2 intakes are. And these are both D as well. So this is where your D14 and 15 are, these guys. So problem is, you can see here, both of them are snapped at the bottom. Unfortunately, the way they're packaged. What should be too bad, I mean, it's quite a, I don't know if it's on the outside or the inside, but it's definitely these little plastic hardened and fixing and stuff, which is kind of bummer because it's, it's quite a tricky kind of part with some panel lines and stuff. So yeah, both broken off. This one broken off too, but not quite so bad as this one. But this is how it's packaged in the box, in a packed bag here, rolling around. So kind of working through here. So I added again this G7. I'm doing open, so it's kind of hard to figure out which way it goes. I think I got it the right way. So I went this way. Make sure you drill the holes out too. Again, it's a little tricky. You got to drill 1.1 mil holes, 2 of them, but there's 2 actual like markings on the inside. If you can see that, there's a little hole and a big hole. So looking for the instructions, I think, fingers crossed, I think it's the big holes. So I draw the 2 big holes out here and left the small ones as is, because it only marks on here as drilling 2 holes out. So we'll see how we get on with that. Glued this little part right here, D9, just from the inside, I don't forget. Nice little bit of detail there too. So moving along nicely. Also here, number 61, color 61 is burnt iron. So it's saying to paint the inside of this burnt iron before you kind of come back and do more assembly, because this guy I think goes on underneath it and stuff, and some other parts as well. So that one goes burnt iron, so you can see it from the other side, I guess. Cool. So now we're working along here with the intakes, and unfortunately, gnarly ejection pin marks, huge ejection pin marks. Should be easy to take care of, but I mean, nevertheless, for a kit, with this fine detail and stuff, I didn't expect to see such huge ejection pin marks. So if you can see that in the light there. So it's 3 in each side, so I'll take care of those ejection pins, smooth it all out, and then we'll get this together. And fingers crossed, it's going to be a pretty good scene, but we'll see how we go. So just want to give you a quick update. So I'm going to get back working through more of this. The engine jet turbo fans actually on the previous page, so it's a couple of parts from G Sprue and then a bunch of like tiny little PE stuff, and yeah, we'll figure that out when we get there. It's a little complicated, just like we're drilling some holes and stuff too. But anyway, so let me carry on with this. I'll be right back. Okay, so moving along here, got to a stage where I'm just going to be sensible here. Like any kit, I'm not going to use all the photo etch because some of it's a little bit ridiculous. So, case in point, this panel right here, which is E21, there's a tiny little P bracket that goes on the side of this, along the side there. I don't think I'm going to add that, but more importantly, like there's little PE bits that go in here. Here we're at with this one. So the engine inlet turbofan, so blades at the back of the intake. Now this intake is what? I don't know, let's measure it. It is about 8 inches long. So am I gonna put like tiny microscopic photo etch on a part 8 inches down an intake? No. So it asks you to drill a few holes. So let me kind of, where are they? So I got them here ready to paint. So it asks you basically to drill a couple of holes on here and install some photo etch on some small parts. The photo etch, spoiler alert, is B12. Let me show you how small this photo etch is. I'm going to find it on the fret real quick. Where is it? B12. B12. These tiny little bits right here. Yeah, so it's saying install these on the fan, which, don't get me wrong, if you're into your accuracy and rivet counting stuff, brilliant. But guess what? When this is down an intake behind this tube like that, are you going to see 2 tiny bits of photo etch down there once it's painted? No, I'm not going to look down there. I don't care. So it's just about, for me, it's about really kind of doing what's sensible and what's not, and not going over the top here. So not going to worry about those photo etch parts. Just going to go ahead and proceed. So I'm glad that paint did arrive actually, because it helps with painting now. So there's 2 other ejection pins. I don't know if you can see them there. I kind of made a start taking them out. Again, big prominent pins right there. Again, kind of frustrating to put these pins right in the intake there. So another thing was this part here, G8,
which goes on top here. It looks for me like the flat bit goes on top, but look at some reference pictures, that kind of like waffling kind of texture is actually on the facing upwards as we look at this part. So I had to go that way around. I didn't bother spraying the inside iron like it said, because again, once you spray over this thing, the paint color anyway, it's going to cover it all, so it's kind of pointless to me. So what we're going to do is we're almost ready for some painting. So we're going to paint the front section here with the grey color of the aircraft, and then the intake, it looks like, from looking at some reference pictures, it's more like a dark iron kind of color. It's all sooty and stuff. So I'm going to paint this a dark iron. And then the plan is once this fits in there, it's going to create a perfect line between the two. You'd have to mask it, so you have the grey and then onto the intake part, which is the tube here, which is going to be dark iron. I'm going to do steel. It says dark iron for the fan blades, but I'm going to go do steel, just have some color variation. So that's the game plan with that. So how it kind of goes together too is, I'm going to give you a quick heads up here how it's going to go. It's going to be, once the tube's in and this is in, it's going to go this top bit goes on first, clicks into place, and then this bit goes on last, over the top of that, like that. So that's the order it goes in. So this piece first, and then this kind of curvy piece, which is E35, goes on the very end, like that. And that's how it's going to kind of come together. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Also, to make this seamless, again, I put seams right down the middle of each, which isn't ideal. It's normally better like the Meng F-18, where they put them in the corners, you don't really see it so much. So what I've done is I've glued it together really good, and then I've come back with some Sprue Glue, which is basically this, which is extra thin cement with some plastic card added and melted in. So it completes, I think I'm sure you guys have seen this stuff before, so it makes like a gooey kind of show the texture. You can do whatever thickness you want. This is more of a runnier one, so you can kind of see as it kind of drops off how kind of thin it is. So it's just plastic card cut up, thrown some extra thin overnight, and it melts down, create this kind of nice kind of filler basically. So what I did was with a cocktail stick or a toothpick, just dropped it down there on the seams, let it run down, smear it on a little bit just to kind of cover those gaps, hopefully make it seamless. Give it a good hour or two to dry, and I'll come back with sander or sponge and just sand that away to make it smooth. So hopefully it's going to be nice and seamless. So that's where we're at. So let this dry, start some painting and get this intake put together. Right, so everything was go ahead and primed with my usual Mr. Service of 1500 black. So primed everything, and then I came back and painted my fan blades back here with my AK Extreme steel. I like the steel color on here, nice metallic color. The back kind of intake trunks here, put instructions painted dark iron. And I used my Tamiya LP54, but any kind, I mean, you're not going to see that far back, so any dark iron you have, but I do like the Tamiya X LP54. And then finally, the front of these intakes were painted the lower body color, which is, I'm using Attacker 285 faded blue gray, which is also FS 25530. You can see that. But Attacker 285. So sprayed all that on the inside light. They didn't hose it on because you've got the black underneath and it creates some, the dirt kind of effect. If you guys can see that. Yeah, some grime and stuff. So yeah, that's the three colors, and let's dry for a little bit more. Painted these first, so then when I add the trunking to this, obviously we're going to have a perfect line between the two colors. So I'm not sure which ones this is left. I think this goes on this side. And then you can kind of see how it goes like that. It just clicks into place. So let me pull this back out a little bit so it dries a little bit more. So that's that bit done. So I'm ready to, let's say, let those dry for about another hour or so, and then assemble those, and then we can install them onto the lower fuselage part, which is this guy. So they're just going to go on here with that in a minute once they're dry. Added the center pylons, so I've gone through and did step 12. Did all these steps. This is going to drive me crazy, these tiny parts. L44 on each side, one flicked of my tweezers, went across the room. There's no way in hell I'm finding that. I've just come to the conclusion now, well, these parts are so small and fine, I've lost a few to the carpet monster. It's just kind of hard to handle and impossible to find. So, as you see on here, where does it go? Back here we have on this side, but there isn't one on that side. Hey ho, lost it. One thing I struggled a little bit in instructions here was K56 and K44, kind of seeing where they go. And they actually go right back here on there. if you're wondering where to go. But yeah, oh, has that little panel fit, no problem at all in the front. Kind of loving how it's actually a normal size piece for a change, not a tiny little minuscule part. So that guy's on. Yeah, so just wait for those to dry, the intakes, and then get the intakes put on, and we'll be good to go. One thing, I don't want to keep bashing this kit, but I did have, between this kind of segment I'm filming right now and the last one is a couple of week break. I had to take a little break, walk away, do something else, because it was driving me a little bit crazy, this kit, to be honest with you. The rant I'm going to have right now is how they've laid out the sprues. So this right here is a pretty straightforward section, just adding 2 center pylons. So I'm actually kind of just recently finished a Trump to 32nd scale Harrier, and I kind of looked how easy that went together. And I looked at landing gear. So all the parts of landing gear are on sprue E, makes it super easy. So when I first looked at this, I thought, okay, maybe a couple of sprues. But when you work it out, so there's not many parts on here. You can see, really, maybe a dozen or so. But look how many sprues we have to dig out. We have to do J. We have to get a part from L, some parts from K, some parts from G, and some parts from E. So it's got me rummaging for the box, 5 different sprues for about 10 pieces. It's just bad management. I really like, you can do a lot better. I know I mentioned this in the very first part, where actually the carpet was pretty good. I think all the parts are on the same sprue, maybe I think it was K. But when you have you running around the different sprues with tiny little pieces, it just kind of makes it a little frustrating for me. And I mean, I don't know why they can put, like, combine all these onto K. You know, J, K, and L are all small parts. Why could you combine them all in the same sprue or simultaneous numbers or something? Makes it a little bit easier. But having to rummage through, you know, find all these sprues, dig them out of the box, and also, you know, because they're in the box, you know, it's creating some scratches and stuff too. Keep handling them all the time. So that's just kind of my mini rants, I guess. As you guys can probably guess, I'm not a huge fan of this kit thus far. It's a real kind of struggle for me to kind of work on this. It's just sapping my mojo completely, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'll persevere, yeah, I kind of digress there, but coming back, so I'll let these intake parts dry, we'll get those put together, put them on the jet, and then we can wrap this video up. Okay, so glued these intakes on, no problem at all, that's a really nice fit. The only thing is there's a lot of flex in this part, so I'm hoping it does go together on the main fuselage okay. The way I did it, I'm wondering now maybe it might be better to put the other side on, and then put these on afterwards, but I guess we'll find out when we get to that stage. But yeah, a lot of flex on here, but yeah, glued them on the extra thin, just held it, did parts at a time, and no problem at all, really nice fit. So yeah, good progress. The intakes are obviously in, I'm not sure you can see much in the camera. And yeah, again, to my earlier point, there's instructions, those talking about drilling parts out and putting photo etch on tiny little microscopic photo etch on the fan blade. Well, guess what? You can see those? No. I mean, when it's on the table, you're not going to see any of that stuff. So these guys are on. Looking good, happy with how it's going. Excuse the rants, this is a very frustrating kit for me. It's not the best I've ever built for me. I mean, it's nice engineered, but the parts are tiny. It's just was over-engineered, to be honest with you. So that's where I'm at with this one. Don't expect part 4 anytime soon. Like I say, this really saps my mojo, this kit, so put it aside for a few weeks. I'm going to work on something else and come back, and we'll work for it as we go through 2021 and hopefully get this guy put together and built. But yeah, it's also a kit I can just sit there and just knock out night after night. I need to work on something else and do little parts of this and kind of in between. But yeah, so there we go. So if you want to get part 4, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I think only like 20% of my viewers are subscribers. And you'll catch it next time I'm up. So in the meantime, we're going to have the Tamiya F14 up as always on Friday. And again, I really appreciate everybody's kind comments and all that kind of stuff. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.